Hi there, hope you're well. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to look through the website like I am a user and just anything that kind of comes to mind that I think from a usability perspective, or enhancing the UI and things like that, I will just let you know. So my expertise does lie within user experience. To ensure that the users on your site, like you say, you want them to convert, and the conversions that you're looking at the moment are either engineers or architects signing up, or buyers actually coming to the site and they've got an actual need for this service. So the first thing that I do notice is you do have like find experts in the UK, which seems quite straightforward. However, you are sort of missing what sort of experts, and it might seem a little bit obvious because you say, well, I've got engineer or architect down here, but what that's requiring is the user to actually spend a little bit more time thinking, and these are called like milliseconds, but it makes an awful lot of difference when the user is kind of thinking, is this an easy site, is this a good site, do I trust this site, all those types of things. I'm just going to get rid of this. So I would definitely look at the copy here, and also kind of maybe consider things like, what are the user's pain points? When somebody's looking for an engineer or architect, what is that need that they're wanting to fulfill? And this is not necessarily a practical need. More often than not, it'll be an emotional need. And when it's an emotional need, you can kind of dig down. You might get to one layer, and then more often than not, there's like 5 layers. It's like peeling back an onion to find out what is this, the real sort of thing, pain point, which is obviously you've provided the solution here. But for users to feel that sense of trust, sense of belonging, which, all people actually want, you can do that using sort of like the language on the actual site as well. So, okay, so I'm just going to randomly put any postcode in here. Okay, I'll just put one of these. Okay, so I find the postcode, click search. Okay, so about your project. Okay, so instantly what I would do here, I would separate these. Although you're trying to reduce the amount of steps, the amount of steps isn't an issue if, one, it's transparent how long it's going to take. And I really, really like the fact that you've got the percentage and this bar across the top. It tells me as the user it's not going to take too much time. But similarly, what we tend to see here, because you have multiple bullet points, it's too much cognitive load for the user to take in. So I would get rid of the numbers, because the numbers like 1 and 2 don't really add any context, because we've got this bar here. So if this bar said, 10 steps or something like that, then 1 and 2 becomes well, it's quite intuitive then what's actually how many steps it's going to take. So I'd do consultant type. You can maybe look at like having an icon or a graphic or something to sit with that. So they'll click I'm looking for, okay, like an interior designer. Project type, okay, other would usually come at the bottom. And I would also ensure that your list is in alphabetical order as well, just for ease of getting to where they want to be. Now I wonder if I click other. Okay, what might be quite good when the user clicks other is to have a text box display to kind of maybe get them to add a little bit more detail there if they would like. So it would be completely optional. So I would say I'm looking, it's a refurbishment. About yourself. Okay, I would get rid of this. Okay, this says finish then. So it was actually only 2 screens. Okay, so I think you could look at the percentages properly there, because yeah, the assumption there was that there was going to be more questions, but now it says finish. I'm like, wow, that wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. And that's what we don't want users to think that at the end. We want them to think that at the start. So what I would also do, I was going to say get rid of this screen if this screen was coming before something else, but I'm assuming it's not. So actually, I'd like to think at this point, I'm actually further than 66%. I would just have the email address. I would just capture the email address, and maybe what I'd do before that is look at just maybe putting a message or about your project, and have that on the screen before. Then maybe just capture that email address, and then what you can do after that is then maybe you can say complete your profile, add in your first name, your last name, adding in your phone number will enable you to get, I don't know, look at the statistics, 10% more, a higher response rate if you add your phone number in, but you can make it completely optional. And here I don't really know what's optional and what's not optional. So if I click finish, okay, then it tells me. So what you could do here is put like the mandatory symbol next to like email address, but I just have the email address on one line, because when a user gets to this point, they don't want to feel overwhelmed, and they're thinking like, well, why do I have to give my phone number? Why am I having to give my last name as well? That might feel a bit uncomfortable for some people who are putting themselves online. They might not want everybody knowing who they are and things like that. So I just put like the email address. What is it that the user needs to provide in order for people be able to submit a response to them? And I'm guessing as long as they have an email address, they can get away with that. And then you look at, okay, from a usability perspective, how can I get users to complete their profile, to add in more details and provide me that information? But because this is a lead capture, essentially, you want to make it as simple as possible. And then you have another usability challenge to kind of overcome, if that makes sense. Okay, so it's making me fill it in. So I'm just going to fill in some details. I don't want to add my phone number. I don't really have a message. Okay, so I didn't know then if that was going to be mandatory or not. So kind of letting the user know those details would be really helpful. Okay, it's not letting me finish, so maybe I have to type something in. Oh, okay, so it was mandatory. Okay. Okay. So this is sort of a confirmation page. I would remove quite a few of the exclamation marks here. We've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, because what that does is, I know you're trying to create that friendly approach, but sometimes people look at that and it looks a little bit unprofessional. So I just limit the amount of exclamation marks, maybe just on have a nice day. Okay, I think that's just a bug. So okay, I'm just looking here. Okay, so rather than going to articles, what I then be looking at doing is get them to finish their profile. I'm not sure if they even have a profile here. That's what I would assume that they do. Okay, because as a user, I want to be able to change my email address because I've just updated it. But I don't see how I can do that. Okay, so usually when I start a project, before I even think about design, before I even think about doing anything like low fidelity or even high fidelity, which is this, I would write user stories, look at what my user needs are. So as a user, I want to be able to go to my settings. As a user, I want to be able to change my email address. As a user, I want to be able to add my phone number. As a user, I've just got married, I'd like to be able to change my last name. And you can create all these different stories. And you actually write the stories based upon, you just can kind of sit around with yourself and maybe a couple of other people and just say, like, what is that user journey? Come away from the computer, just get sticky notes and say, like, what do I want to do next in an ideal world? Don't think about features, because when you're thinking about features, you're in that developer mindset. And what you want to be here is you want to be in the user mindset. And what will evolve from those user needs and those stories that you create will be then features, but we think about that next. So how you're actually going to execute this comes further down the line. You just want to think about what the user wants. So would that story be that I have got an email, now I want to go and check out articles? Why are we pushing our users to do this? Is this a business need? Is there a reason behind that? We can really guide and influence the users for their benefit, but we have to have a purpose for doing that. Now, I would want to see, like, okay, where is a place that I could look at what I've just submitted? As a user, I want to be able to see the proposal that I've just submitted, what day I submitted it, because then I can see, like, is it taking a lot of time? Like, I don't really know what to expect here. Time to relax. You'll soon get an email with details of suitable companies. So it's going to all come through to my email. But then that makes me a little bit anxious, because as a user, I would also like to receive the emails on Expert Plan's website, because I do have some troubles with emails receiving them. What happens if they go to my spam box? What happens if I don't receive it? I get thousands of emails a day, all that type of thing. So you really want to basically think about what those user needs are. So I feel like it's missing something here, quite a few different bits and pieces from what a user may want. And we're directing them to check out articles, and I don't feel like that is the best approach at this point. From a user experience, I'm not sure why we'd want to direct them there straight away, when I think there's other stories that could come before that. But from a business perspective, I do understand if you're wanting to kind of like build trust. So we really have to look at that whole user journey and what it is that you want them to do. So I'm just going to look at the footer now. Okay, everything looks great. I think the only thing that's missing is like an address and maybe limited company details. Those small things can make a big difference to a user, because they really like to be able to trust the company that they're submitting their details to. They're giving you something. They'll always kind of like maybe do their due diligence first. It's nice to know that, they've got all these different consultants across the UK. But again, I feel like we're being quite vague here. Find professionals. Are these within a particular category, sector? Are these consultants in a particular sector? Do we want to specify that so the user always constantly feels like they know where they are? They know that they're on the right thing, especially if they've just landed on the homepage, for example. And what I would say here, I don't think these need to be bold. I just have these in normal text. Also, I'd get rid of the capitals as well. Capitals are a lot harder to read. What I do like is that you haven't gone for like a white on a dark background, because white on dark is really hard to read, and especially with people with accessibility issues. It can be extremely difficult to read, and especially on retina displays as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back actually. Okay, so here, the first thing I think, well, do you want me to go left or do you want me to go right? So I understand this is probably just like a widget that's been installed. So then you can kind of like have this slider, but we really want to guide the user and what they want them to do. We're going to tell them a story. So get help in seconds. find consultants you can trust. Trust is a big word. When I mentioned right at the start about looking at the pain points, this is where you really want to look at their pain points. And because a user who scrolls is a user who wants to build trust, because a user who automatically enters details right away, they didn't want to do it, they just want to get the job done, they obviously trust you, or they're just going to see what happens as long as you don't ask too many questions and don't ask for too many details. Oh, I think I've gone the wrong way. Oh gosh. So we want to look at what are the user's pain points. How can you, like, they've got a wound basically that they want to heal, which is why they've come to you as the solution to their problem, and it's your job to find out what that problem is. And when you know what that wound is, you can actually make that wound bleed a little bit more, which sounds very dramatic, but actually really helps, because they feel like, oh my God, these people get me, you know, that you're not just, we're here, we do this, these are the features, you know, people like buy on emotion. People are emotional beings, so we have to remember that, and we have to connect with them in that way as well. So get help in seconds. You know, I don't know, these are all sort of like really superficial things. Help in seconds, free of cost. You know, we're trusted and qualified professionals. Join us as a pro. You know, I don't feel like I'm a user who's got a real big issue here. I don't feel like I'm being connected with. So working with a copywriter who can really look at like pain points and language would really, really help build that trust in that moment in time. There's nothing wrong with actually using those sort of like, you know, letting people know with maybe a few symbols that it's free of charge, you know, trusting qualified professionals. Maybe you could have like 5 across the bottom with just like little icons, but the main copy really needs to take them on a journey and really make them understand. Okay, so yeah, I would definitely look at the language. Okay, and it's only by this point I actually really start to understand that it's architects and engineers. We're putting a little bit more about it. Okay, I'm just reading, sorry. Okay, and also you have like designed for here, and you find out more, but it's only when I hover on that I can see it's underlined. I would constantly have that underlined so that users become familiar with, okay, this is a link. Because it's only when they hover over it that they know. So you should have like 3 button styles. You've got your primary button, and then you have your secondary button, and then you have your tertiary button. And usually a tertiary button is this sort of style. Your primary buttons are the ones in greens, the ones that we want users to click. So also what I just noticed here, get 5 leads for free, and then you've just got like search here, but that message I would never know I only get 5 unless I'd already scrolled down on the page, and they might miss that. So you just need some consistency throughout. Okay, I would completely take out though architects and engineers. You've got to really decide. Okay, because this is telling me to connect with reviewed and trusted people, and then you're talking to the business people here. So there's sort of like a mixed message. So what I would do, this part here, architects, get rid of that completely. Make sure your message throughout is just for those buyers who are wanting to find these experts. it's good that you have testimonials. However, they don't look legitimate. So what I would say is integrate with FIFO or Trustpilot or something similar. And I would then definitely integrate that into the site because people trust those. But if you're a bit unsure of who to go with, you know, Google's really good as well. You can do like a survey. You could maybe ask potential clients, like, who do you trust the most when looking for reviews? Because when people see something connected to somebody they trust, they don't need to figure that out. Are these genuine or not genuine? Because when they're feeding from these platforms, you know, most users know that they have to go through a process. So rather than still got questions here, this is where I would then put your message to consultants, because you're right at the end of the page. It's not sort of like integrated into it. You want to make sure that it's talking just to the buyers. And then right at the end, you can say, are you a consultant looking to, you know, increase your monthly salary, or, you know, what, again, you can look at the real pain points here. Why does a consultant want to sign up with you? You know, what is that sort of need? And actually, when I say those, dig deeper, a lot of people say it's to do with the money, but then they'll realize there's something much deeper than that. It's actually so that some of them may think, so I can spend the weekend with my children, and I don't have to work ridiculous hours. You know, you can actually find, you know, is there a generic sort of thing going on here? Is a bit of a theme, and one-to-one interviews are great for doing this. That's something that I can help with. I can write surveys and things like that if you need any support with that, just to get some more sort of like questions. Because most people, when they put together a website, they do it based upon assumptions. This is what we think the users might want, and we're going to put it together and we're going to see what happens. It's actually great sometimes to just throw something together and then put it out there. But the most important thing that you do is make sure that you do get that validation. And to get that validation, you will need to do interviews, and you will need to generate that feedback on your website. Because if you don't do that, you'll never actually know. And then you might be thinking, well, why is my site not converting? So hopefully I've given you some of those, a bit of direction, should I say, in terms of what it is that you need to kind of maybe go out and do. Because when you actually work with research and really understand your users, you lower the risk of taking a product to market, and you're quite confident then in knowing, okay, I know this is going to convert because I really understand what it is the users want. And you might go through 3 or 4 iterations before you actually are comfortable and have got, you know, enough conversions. And then you might think, okay, now I want to take it up a notch. And what most people do is every 3 to 6 months, they'll look at improving the usability even further. And that's something that will never, ever stop, and shouldn't ever stop either. Okay. So knowledge, I don't know what knowledge means. Okay, articles. So one thing that we do know about users is users who feel like comfortable and familiar with products are more likely to stay on the product. So rather than knowledge, most people recognize it as blog. That's the most familiar term. That's the term that users will see on other websites. So unless your particular industry, and only you'll know this, but if they're using the terminology knowledge on many websites that they like, not just professional websites, but, you know, what websites do they go on in their spare time? What's the most website that your sector of users are using the most in their own time? You know, if it was, for example, Instagram, you can look at some of their functionality. If it's Facebook or LinkedIn, or if you know they go on the BBC Sports, or, you know, you can really do a lot of digging to find out who are my users, and then look at the sites they like, and taking inspiration from not necessarily their placement of things, because you have to do your own research for that, but taking inspiration in terms of the language maybe that they use, in terms of things like blog, or do they, contact us, and familiarity of, the logo always being in the top left. That's what a lot of users on many websites are used to seeing. So when someone throws it off and maybe puts it on the top right, or puts it somewhere really strange, then users freak out because they're like, oh, this doesn't feel familiar. Okay, so I'm going to go to consultant. Okay, I would definitely make sign in more of a tertiary button style. Learn more. What am I learning more about? So learn more about becoming a consultant. And then that might take me to another page. Ideally, it would be good if my login could just maybe, I don't actually have to click another button to go to another page here. So what you could have is if you know the majority of users who come to your landing page, click on consultants, are signing in, maybe you can pull the sign in button out. Or alternatively, if you're having sign in or sign up for free, and you know the majority of users are doing either one or the other, you can have the form there ready. Sign up for free, give us your email, first name and email address, sign up. And then again, you've got another sort of challenge to make sure that they complete the profile, and you can almost gamify it. You can incentivize it. You can use language like, people who complete their profile are 5 times more likely to win a job. People who respond within 5 minutes, or 1 hour or something, or 7 times more likely to win a job, something along those types of lines. So I'm just going to click sign up for free. Okay, and again, this image, because it's got these bullet points and these fields, it visually looks like I'm filling out more than what I am. And also it's repeated here. You've got like first name, email address, which I just noticed from before as well. Do we need to duplicate that? Because it actually looks, again, like there's more than there is. We could just have like first name in the box and people know to type. But I would just stick at email address and first name on like a sign up. And if it's crucial, phone number. Or can they complete that afterwards? Again, that's obviously a business decision. Underline this here. Yeah. Okay, I've got to fill this out. What I actually also think about doing is switching the right side form to the left. Users read left to right. And yeah, this just feels like a little bit too much. Doesn't feel as simple as what I think it could do. Registered business name. Next. And I've got to create a password. Notice there's no real security on this. Like your password must be, have one uppercase, lowercase, things like that. So I would just kind of make you aware of, just monitor sort of like accounts getting hacked and things like that. Complete registration. Ooh, I've done it. So I like the fact that you're now part of our, I don't know if network's the right word. Make sure you complete your company profile. Sorry. This here, I wouldn't really. So rather than saying got it, I would actually put an X in the top right hand corner, but make the call to action be something like complete my company profile. Or this could be an onboarding process. So now that they're in, you could say, set your location. Set your location to start receiving leads or something similar. And what you'd end up doing is they're now in, but now they're on an onboarding process. And that onboarding process, just like at the start, is going to ask them a couple of questions, each on an individual screen. It's going to take them through a series of questions. And when they do that, they're actually completing their profile and they don't really realize that they're doing it, but they can click X if they really don't want to. They can come back to it later, but you're encouraging them. And also, again, about going back to like the familiarity side of things, when people see like warning messages, they usually see them in so an error message is red, warning messages are orange, and positive action confirmation is green. So I would put these into orange color, but have a look at your design system. I don't know if you've got one of those set up, because that can be really handy, especially if you're going to iterate on this, maybe use different developers over time, new people come into the team. Having that in place just means you can build upon that design system. That's something also that I can help with if you haven't got one, or maybe you want one that's a little bit more refined. Just to ensure that all your button styles are set up, and so anyone coming in, they can just use those components, so you know there's always going to be consistency. I'm not really sure what. Okay, Paul's leads. Yeah, because you've got this as well. Okay, I'm not sure that this icon works. We've got too many icons here, too much cognitive load. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd really look at sort of like improving that. And again, going back to familiarity, we want users to really understand what these things mean. I don't think that, to me, says like I'm going to zoom in closer and look at an area. That's what I think the icon means. And you can actually run tests with this, and ask people, what do you think this icon means? And get that feedback. 5 leads there. So I'm going to add a new area. Okay. Okay, it's not coming up. I don't know why. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what's happening here, because when I enter the area name, have I got to set this myself? It would be really great from a user perspective. I could just type in an area, it comes up, and I add, a couple of different areas, or I might want to just add the whole of the United Kingdom. So again, you could create those user stories. As a user, I want to be able to select the whole of the United Kingdom. I want to be able to select the whole of the world, because I can travel. I don't know what your users do, but you can create those stories based upon that. Now I'm assuming that I've got to do the hard work myself, which is not what we want users to do, and I can't even move it. Okay, so I don't really know how to do this. So yeah, I'm thinking there's a bit of an issue with this particular piece of functionality and getting it to do what I want to do. Okay, so I'll just click create area now. Okay. Settings. Okay. Update area. Okay, but if I haven't actually updated an area and I just want to cancel, because I've come into the wrong place. I don't see a cancel. Oh, there I do, because my thing was covering it. That's good, good. So again, just have that underlined. Cancel, bin. Okay, definitely look at that. You had cancel on the left the other time, and the main button we wanted on the right. Now we've got it on the left. The success message was different from the warning message, the layout and the style. So definitely there's some inconsistencies in terms of the sort of like user interface. Okay, this tells me my invoices, but I think I'll only really know. Oh, unsubscribed. I'm not sure that's the correct word. Unsubscribed from billing, I'm guessing it means, which feels kind of negative. I want to feel like, actually, let's motivate our users. So, hi Claire, ready to set up your billing details so you can start getting paid, getting leads, I think as a user, I'd really like to see like a box with some different options, maybe some bundles of leads and things like that. That might be something that you've already thought about or might be there for future iterations. Oh, now I'm seeing like an account, but I'm guessing as a user, as a buyer, I don't get that. I want to edit. Okay. Description. Okay, so there's a button here. I can't see what it says because of my little widget thing. Oh, project updated. What was if I want to change these? So can users change these? Yeah, I'm a little bit confused about which leads I want to receive there and if I can like update them. Assuming this is a photo. Not really got any pictures I can put in there, but I'll just put a random one of some wardrobes. I'm not sure what happens there. Oh, now it seems to do. Okay. I'm not sure if the profiles take up that much room. What happens if I want to like now add my website and VAT number because it says you haven't got it, or change my phone number? So I would definitely write a load of user stories around all of these different pages, all of the different journeys. Going to take you a bit of time to do, but it shows then you're not missing anything out, and you're not going to get like loads of emails saying, oh, I want to be able to do this, and then you're having to do it from your side, which is taking up a lot of time and resources, and it'll cost more. The way I sort of like really like to work is like, what is the minimal amount that we need to add to provide value to the user that we can then build upon? So if website isn't crucial at this stage, then you can remove that, because then that removes the functionality of being able to needing to add a website, edit a website, update it, and so forth. But that's a decision, I guess, as a business you'd need to make. Okay. Yeah, so I definitely do that. Let me sign out, and then it signs me back out to there. Okay. Yeah, I think at this point that I probably overloaded with quite a lot of information, which I'm very mindful of. And I think coming back to me once you've kind of maybe made some changes so I can kind of help you even further would be good. But one of the things that I would really advise for you to do at this point is to set up some user testing one-to-one tests, do some surveys, really understand your users, look at their pain points. There's about 3 different tasks that I would recommend. 3 or 4 different tasks. 1, user personas. Who are users? What are their pain points? What are their goals, motivators, things like that. The user stories. I definitely look at the user stories and look at their journey. I'd look at user testing, doing some surveys, but I'd also look at doing one-to-one interviews as well with people who are your customers. Generally, we want to avoid bias, so there'd be people that you don't regularly sort of interact with, or you don't know. That would be advisable, just to ensure that we're going to get as honest feedback as possible. And you can incentivize people for completing them as well. You can join Facebook groups, you can reach out to people on LinkedIn to get people to do one-to-one surveys, a little bit of legwork there. There is recruitment agencies who can supply us with architects and engineers for one-to-one interviews, which is quite quick and quite easy, but you would pay a little bit more to get those people. So yeah, I'm here if you've got any questions, and I really hope you found this helpful.